You're welcome back. This is Editors Forum. So the National Assembly has eventually transmitted the Electoral Act Amendment Bill to Mr. President for Assent. Will Mr. President sign that bill? Let's get talking, gentlemen. Victoria and of course Ayo Baji. I wonder what your thoughts are concerning this. Perhaps we should begin with you, Ayo.
Okay, thank you very much. You know, it's been always my stand, position, and principle that free, fair, credible elections form the firm foundation on which to build the house of democracy. And based on that, when we are talking about democracy, the ethics, the ethos, it has to do with the collective dreams, desires, views, opinions of the people. And therefore, those who represent them must have to understand that principle, that it has to do with what the people want. It's not what those that have been either elected or selected want to impose on the people. One would have expected this to have been passed by Mr. President even long before now. That's my own personal opinion. Based, because we've had a series of infractions during the previous elections, both at the state level and at the federal level. And one will have thought that, oh no, with this opportunity. So it was quite a shock. Some surprise that at a point the National Assembly was trying to take over the responsibility, what the Constitution and the Electoral, at least the Electoral Act empowers INEC to do. INEC, independent National Electoral Commission, which means it should not, kowtow to the views, to the, selfish principles or whatever perceptions of some group of people, most in the National Assembly. So we are waiting.
Is INEC truly independent?
That is the question. And that is why one is, clamoring for the fact that no other body should impose its own wishes or will on INEC. That is as we have it on ground today. If INEC is truly independent and is, practicing the principles of free, fair, and credible elections based on the views, on the choices of the people, then what we have on ground now, I expect Mr. President to speedily, as I expressed in my own opinion article, assent to it.
Victor, when you even take a look at that bill, I wonder what your major concerns are. Are you worried if the device will not malfunction on a larger scale? Are you disturbed by that?
No, I'm not disturbed by that, in the fact that there's no perfect situation anywhere. All over the world, people will manage situations, and I believe that the beavers can be managed to some extent because the failure rate was not so high, compared to the card reader that we had in the past. But my major concern my major concern is in the area of the primary that has been imposed, on the parties, whereby the direct primary, where parties are going to be compared whether they want to go for direct or indirect. With this electoral bill that will be transmitted to the president, they are going to be, if the president gives his assent to it, that means they are going to be compared to adhere to the principle of direct primary, even though they wish to go adopt indirect primaries. So this is the bone of contention, and I believe that the president will have a lot of pressure from different groups, because not all the political parties or all the politicians are in support of the direct primary that is included in the new just passed electoral bill. So there will be a lot of pressure from the president from that angle. But I would have expected the National Assembly to go further to include electronic voting system. We are right for that, because this system we are running, whereby any day there will be election in any state or a general election, the whole country will be locked down. It's not practicable. All over the world, the nations are adopting new principle that will allow people to vote at their convenience. You can vote while you are doing your job with your phone. Exactly. You can vote while you are driving. So every time we want to hold the election.
But you think we are absolutely even ready for electronic voting?
Why can't we be ready? Why can't we be ready? The world has become a global village.
Well, because
if a smaller country,
I keep saying this, the developed climes, developed countries have struggled with electronic voting. There have been issues of hacking those elections.
Is there any system that cannot be hacked?
So
every system can be hacked. Okay,
if for instance the US elections, Donald Trump has never accepted the results that brought in Joe Biden. He believes the elections were rigged.
Yes, but here in a country that we perceive to be underdeveloped,
and Nigerians we're really very smart people. Yeah, so one wonders.
when Nigeria that is perceived to be an underdeveloped country, we had an election in 2015 whereby before the conclusion of the election, the president has considered defeat. So it depends on the individual, and there is no perfection anywhere. Whatever we are using in this world, we manage it. That is how, that is how it is.
To keep in something there, how do we transfer money? How do we receive money?
No, I mean we all know that. I mean, we do a lot of electronic transactions.
When it comes to elections,
banking, filling forms, and all of that.
But when it comes to elections, you know, because
for whatever decision we take, it's for 4 years.
We understand.
And even 8 years.
As the situation may be. I mean, what I'm trying to say is this. We've gotten to a stage, I mean, in the international perspective, that we have to look at issues that we do. I mean, WAEC, NECO, whatever. How do they register? Everything is electronically, controlled as a dance. So we should step up our game.
Except for elections. So perhaps they wanted to take it one step at a time.
No, it's not.
We should take it at once. We should take it at once.
I mean, all right, I understand. Let's bring in Kennedy into the conversation. Okay. Kennedy Insan, public affairs analyst, lecturer, activist, joins us live from Oshogbo, the Osun State capital. Kennedy, good to see you. Perhaps you could share with us your thoughts and views. Do you think that we are ripe and ready as a nation for electronic transmission of results at a larger scale? Of course, we've seen that play out in Anambra State, but on a larger scale, can we handle that? 36 states, 774 local government. I wonder how the number of wards and polling units we would have on at that level. But do you think that we're ready for electronic transmission of results? And perhaps, do you also even think that, maybe as my guests are also saying here, do you think that perhaps we are also ready for e-voting?
Oh, absolutely. Well, we are ready. If you remember, in 2019, it was very clear that even in 2019, INEC was ready to conduct election electronically. And that was why the debate after the election, especially with respect to the tribunal and all of that, there was, that argument about whether or not, certain results were transmitted electronically. To the point where Atiku Abubakar was accused, that the reason for why his team, were bringing the talk about transmission of results and that INEC transmitted elections electronically was because they had their Dubai cronies, that they had put in place to rig the election. So it is not in doubt whether or not INEC was prepared. And INEC has come out on several occasions to say that, look, we are ready to transmit elections electronically. And in any case, if you don't start imbibing or including technology in the way that we run our elections, at what point do you think we will be ready? I mean, it is good to test it and see the workability. There's no system that is foolproof. There's no system that is without, its challenges. But to say that because some people think that we're not ready, INEC should not adopt electronic transmission of voting or electronic voting, to start with. It's completely, not an argument that should be entertained at this point in our political life, at this point, in our development. Because, like the guest mentioned there is no part of, our system in our economy that is not driven by electronics or by technology. Whether it is JAM, whether it is whatever, our banking systems have all adopted technology. And the world over, technology is taking over in the way that people live, in the way that people do business, in the way that people, conduct themselves. So we cannot make the argument now that, yes, INEC is not prepared.
Can I just a moment, please? So if Nigerians are expressing readiness, if a large chunk of Nigerians are expressing readiness to go the direction of e-voting, electronic voting and all of that, just why do we not have that in our system? Who can we finger to be holding us backwards?
Of course, you know that answer. It's a political elite. It's a political elite that promised so much and yet doing so little. So it's a political elite. A lot of them are afraid. They are scared that they are going to lose elections if elections are conducted, electronically, or if elections are free and fair. But of course, in the past, in 2011, in 2019, and all of that, we have seen that elections were conducted, under Jega, and how those elections turned out. So for me, I want to employ the present INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, to ensure that the right thing is done. Because today you have a session where Jega conducted a very peaceful, or reasonably peaceful, and very credible elections, and it's been applauded all over the world. He's been invited to speak in several places with respect to that. Who wouldn't want those kind of legacies? I want to employ the present INEC chairman to claim for such legacy. And even the President Muhammadu Buhari, all of the things that people are talking about with respect to our development, and all of the crises that's going on in this country, is we have credible elections where people can aspire for political positions and get, elected. I am sure that it will square all of these, agitations and cries and the violence that you have everywhere in Nigeria. They are all dependent on credible elections. The moment that we are able to sort out our elections, our democracy will be strengthened, and people would, there will be inclusion. The reason why you see some of the problems that we're having today is because there's a complete lack of inclusion, both in our elections, both in the way that our nation is run, and all of that. And it all depends on our democracy getting it right. And the way to do that is to make sure that we clean up our electoral system and ensure that people who get into, political office are those who are truly chosen by the people, so that they can also have a responsibility to the people who choose them. The reason why you see a kind of illegality and a kind of high-handedness that that is pervasive in electoral in the leadership of our country is because people don't feel a sense of responsibility. People don't think that certain people elected them into political office. Because if you know that truly you worked so hard and was elected into political office, you would know that you owe the people who elected you a responsibility. And that responsibility, includes ensuring that the right thing is done. It includes ensuring that the dividends of the democracy, reaches out to the people who voted into political office.
Fascinating insights, Kennedy San. Stand by, we'll check in with you again. Perhaps I should just ask my guests briefly here in the studios before we leave this topic. Do you agree that the political elites are responsible for the whole e-voting system? Or I wonder, do you agree with him?
Yes, that is the truth. He just spoken the fact. And one beauty about...
And he says that they are afraid of losing elections.
Yes, they are afraid. They are afraid.
They have not said so anyway.
They are afraid. Because if we are agitating for something that is universally accepted, if you are speaking against it, that means you are hiding something. No, and we all know that.
Don't forget that the lawmakers expressed fears and concerns about a certain part of this country that does not probably have a lot of networks.
Yes, they will always express fear. They will always express fear because they know what they are driving at. In those places, are they not making costs in those places? Are they not transferring money in those places? Are people not registering for GC, JAM, and all those things in those places? How are they going about it? Is it not through electronics? Why is it now when it comes to election, it is now that it is that time that there will be no coverage?
Because you know there are lots of desert areas.
It doesn't matter.
There.
And
so
again, this electronic voting, where if we adopt it, issue of vote buying, vote rigging, and criminality, thuggery will be seen on the past, because people will not converge at different voting spot to go and attack people. I could decide to stay in my house. Other people could decide to stay in their homes and cast their vote without necessarily going to police unit to do so. So you will have less people to go and attack. So that is why they are afraid of this system.
Nigerians are really very.
That's why they are afraid of this system.
Unique persons. I wonder.
You understand?
All right.
So it's a clear indication.
There's one issue.
I was going to ask you. Do you indeed agree with him that e-voting will put an end to votes buying and money politics?
It will reduce it if it doesn't put an end to it.
It should. But even then, there is a fundamental problem that Nigerians do not even think about. Yeah. When a party, a political party, asks the candidate to pay 50 million, 20-something million, or whatever
nomination,
amount. Yes.
Cost of nomination.
I mean, so the whole system, structurally, has been monetized. It means that if I,
I'm not sure the bill addresses that. I'm not sure the bill addresses.
No, it doesn't.
And that's why I'm bringing it up here. You see, it's also reflected in my book, Drumbeats of Democracy, because if you are going to have free, fair, and credible elections, and you want people that have the brilliant ideas, that have solutions to our problems, but may not have the money, so how do they come up? And we are talking about independence candidacy. So that is an issue. I mean, the way things are being run now, it means that it goes to the
we have to leave
the
this
one who has the
because
money.
Yes.